the 26th of August 2023. Now, folks, there is one of the things about my channel, it's Real True Education, and I am unapologetic in advocating good education, not the woke mess that we have now. Now, of course, the media is lying to people. It has lied to the adults in Ireland, and they hope to have future students voting for Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and Sinn Féin and people before puberty and Labour by destroying and making their lives as absolutely difficult as they can and making them as ignorant as they can. And that's all I can say. I don't understand this. I don't try to understand it. I can only tell you this is what I observe. I mean, there's so much lies in the media. I could be 24 hours a day countering each piece of a lie. So anyway, now the first thing is the government refuses to cut the student fee. Apparently it's 3,000 you have to pay going into universities, and they refuse to reduce it. Fine Gael was slightly in favour of reducing it. Fianna Fáil were not. So I'll tell you how things must be and how they view the economy when they can't afford 3,000 for a young person. For the fees going to college. Anyway, it'll tell you the commitment of them, but you see, that's the thing. If the Fianna Fáil did cut the student fee, they'd lose votes. The Irishman, you have to be walloping him. You have to bait him with a stick like a donkey out of a sand hole, and then he'll vote for you. You know, if you keep them down, they'll never see the bigger picture. So they're not cutting the student fees, that's all I can say. I'm not saying it. I stood for election, they voted for Neve Smith. There's the one. There you are, Tuddy Duff. Oh, let them pay, let them pay. To hell with them, good enough. I'm here to get things done. I give a damn about yous, Brendan Smith, or the Sinn Féiners. That's the way it is, so fair enough, that's all right. Now, you know, the Greens had a big say, and Fianna Fáil has green credentials, so they do all of green credentials for Fine Gael. And the students are all driving to school. They can't get accommodation. All the accommodation's gone to migrants. I remember those whole estates in Athlone for students, and you could get students could go in there. Now, I don't know who has them. So anyone from Athlone you can tell me, but I can tell you on other places, the whole base emergency accommodation is gone to people from Timbuktu, many of them who have their own houses rented at home. So that's the situation. Again, you won't get Paddy, you won't get the Irishman to vote unless you wallop him, take his house of him, crucify him, and that's it. He just doesn't have the brains to understand he's been hit. That's the way he thinks, and you can't do anything about it. They're getting screwed everywhere. A lot of the old Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael voters are going into nursing homes. They thought they'd get the nursing home treatment free, thought to be kept there for the rest of their life at the taxpayer's expense. Instead of that, they're being hit with a bill for €1,280 a week. A week. 5,000 something a month. Oh, I didn't think I'd have to pay this. And a lot of them were in for a nice little rest, and when they discovered what the bill was, they got cured. There's more miracles with the fair deal Irish health system than there was at Lourdes, Knock, Guadeloupe, Medjugorje, Fatima. Far more cures with the Irish health system and the Irish old person's home system than was at all these Marian apparition sites combined. They all get better. Anyway, folks, right, so they're driving to college. There is no electric cars being driven much, and if there was, you cannot charge an electric car at the colleges. They have no electric car charging sites. So the diesel and the petrol is being burned, and they're all driving off. And that's an accident difficulty too, because youngsters, well, maybe it'll learn them to drive, teach them to drive, but here is the government's programme to get the cars off the road, and this is what they do to make sure they can't get accommodation close to the university. I do, if you're a youngster, I'm on your side, believe you me, I'm on your side. But the big worry I have about you, how will you vote when you get bigger? And I'm afraid the indoctrination you're going to get, and you have been getting, about eating snails and eating insects and LBGPQ and all of this, I think it's going to do damage. And I don't know where you would get teachers. There's a big shortage of teachers. So where would you get teachers that are genuine to teach this? Imagine now, you see me doing videos there on engineering and stuff, and I'd be a good enough university teacher or secondary school teacher in metalwork. Sure, I couldn't go in and listen to the baloney, be at the table every Monday morning when we'd be getting briefed. Have to call that by him, and then jail you then for trying to teach your students, and you call it by him and jail. And that's the same in Britain as well. That's it. We have no doctors. Why have we no doctors? I was in charge of monitoring migration in the Gardaí, and I also remember a few of them came from abroad and they were given a bad fail by the college, a bad fail. Every effort was made to bring students through. What are the standards for doctors abroad? We see the sclerosis problem thing in Ireland. In 2018-19, Simon Harris, the current Deputy Prime Minister, Fine Gael leader, said he would sort out the sclerosis operations problem so that all children who had sclerosis of the spine, that's a curvature of the spine, would be treated. He was only joking. He was only giving a bit of a laugh at the people, laughing at the people. Because he knew, even he was beaten in the ballot box, the independents would support him anyway. A young boy has died as a result of the failure to give him the medical treatment he needed. So there you are, even with death. I wonder, I'd hate to use the misery of the poor boy. How are his family and his cousins voting now? Are they still voting for the Fine Gaelers and the Fianna Fáilers? Well, they normally do. Normally, you kill Paddy the Irishman, his people will still vote Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and Sinn Féin. You can't get this disease out of them. In the terror, the poor chap died. Can't build a children's hospital, and they vote for them, and they'll vote for them again, don't you worry. Now, so there is a staff shortage. They can't get staff to teach, and they certainly can't get them to do the practical subjects. Now, in America, this was a disease over there as well, and Trump is blocking all the woke stuff in the universities, stopping them, blocking them everywhere. A big war, major war being fought in America, and I'm starting to try to get a war fought here on the same thing. Of course, all the housing has gone to migrants, as you know. That's the story, that's it. It's sad. I like to see children getting educated. However, I'd say to those who are denied an education because you can't get it or you can't afford it, sometimes you might be better off without it. I'm educated. I'm very educated. And yet it's the skills that I learned at the technical school in Carrickmacross. I saw a lathe at 14 years of age. I never saw one before. And I got one of my own within 10 years. And it was a great, the metalwork and the woodwork there was great. And the technical drawing does so much to enlighten the mind. The three most important subjects, I think, are maths, technical drawing, metalwork and woodwork, because they teach you how to think. So I'll go to some of the news articles just before leaving my own opinion, and I mean how ridiculous it is. The government policy is to cut cars, cut emissions, and that they have more cars, more emissions, no electric facilities, no electric cars. Students can't afford them anyway, and in fact they're adding to the traffic. That's the ridiculous nature of the Irish government policy. But as I say, that's the only way they can stay in government. And there are loads and loads of private people right now who will stand for election in the next election just to black up Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael and make sure they hold on to power. They're only proxy independents. Now, we'll go on to look at some of the articles here. And this is one in the Irish Times. For some reason, it'll let you read this. A perfect storm, why more students are dropping out of college. Higher Education Authority data doesn't tell us why students have dropped out, but there are clues. They don't tell. Isn't the Irish press, Irish Times, some naive shower of idiots? They don't tell us. They're involved in not telling us as well. Now, on one level, an increase in the number of students dropping out of college should not come as a huge surprise. This is by whom? Carl O'Brien. I wonder what O'Brien's is he? I don't know. Could be the long Johnnies, I'm not sure now. Universities pulled out of all the stops during the COVID-19 pandemic to get students over the line in the form of remote lectures, yeah. Why was there any blockage at all? No vaccination here at all? Nothing. I take on Conor McGregor. Well, want to be dark? No vaccination. To block the whole education. Destroyed the whole social scene in Ireland. Destroyed the whole pubs. Destroyed everything. And I can't make a video. Just, I can slip it in this way. Universities pulled out all the stops during the COVID-19 pandemic to get students over the line in the form of remote lectures, open book exams and other forms of comprehension. On foot of this, dropout rates fell by an all-time low of 9% in 2019-2020. Dropout rates fell to an all-out low. We see, they weren't going to university, so they could be cheating. How do you know? How do you know they're not cheating? Coggin. You've no one there to supervise the exam. Drawn from pre-pandemic average of 12 to 13%. So it's before the pandemic it was 12 to 13% dropout, and then with the pandemic it fell to 9%. So it improved. With the return to normal exams and in-person lectures in more recent times, dropout rates were always likely to return to normal. If I didn't have the lecturers in my degree course, especially in business and finance, historical accounting, management accounting, if I didn't have them, and even in law, I wouldn't be able to read it. You can't read it out of a book because you don't know what. You can take 7 or 8 meanings out of a book. You need a lecturer there to give you the official line of the person who wrote the book. So anyway. So, may set off alarm bells in many universities. Well, the university should stop being woke. Should stop being woke and come out and demand that the law on the SEA directive be complied with. And never mind having this idiot from Maynooth University, I can't think of his name. Oh, the Arctic ice is melting. Oh, the sea levels are rising. And meanwhile, the cost of a house in Blackrock and Dublin beside the sea, where in stormy weather it comes in across the railway line, you have to dodge the waves, aren't going up. So why aren't they going down? Because this is all a load of... And there's another idiot in Galway, I want to meet them, lying through their teeth about climate change. Right. Almost 7,000 first-year students did not progress to the second year of their studies in 2021-22. Dropping out of college course can carry a considerable financial toll, not to mind the effects it has on the student's self-esteem and self-confidence. I do agree with that. Well, there's some people are not cut out for it, and indeed, maybe if I look at my own life, they wanted to send me to high college and all, and I wouldn't go, so it depends, it just depends. But still, the education is no load to carry. And I have people I know, and I push them for education, and it's made great people out of them. They have great jobs and everything. The Higher Education Authority data does not tell us why students have dropped out, but there are clues. Yeah. Here, you expect from a pig but a grunt. Those most at risk of dropping out of courses are male students, those with lower leaving cert points, and those from more disadvantaged backgrounds. We know that more of these students have progressed to higher education in recent times, due in part to inflated grades. Yeah, the exam is not a real exam. If you do an exam, you saw there I did an exam, I did an article on the two-slit experiment on science. And I did one on the political science, on the political spectrum. You see that the poor unfortunates here, many of them who are nice people, commented. One of them thought I was talking about a toilet bowl. Like there's a want in us, but those people probably wouldn't benefit from education. Those people who wrote that wouldn't probably benefit from education. There's people like that there are different strata. I saw chemists who couldn't get their children to qualify to take over the business. You'll have that, all right. So anyway, in addition, students surveyed in 2022 found personal family reasons was the most Common factors citing most students who considered quitting their course, followed by financial reasons and transferring to another college, not enjoying the course or the workload. Yeah, it's hard to knuckle down, it's not easy. And then there's marriage breakup, poverty, there's a lot of things there. There is also evidence of a sharp increase in volume of students seeking mental health support in college. God, imagine that. Poor things, mental health. This is what the Greens, Eamon Ryan, Roderick O'Gorman, they're the worst villains. But the people before puberty are worse as well. They have the whole population freaked out, head cases with their nonsense. Poor devils. I have great sympathy for poor people. And like mental health is an issue. Thank God I don't suffer from it, but I know plenty of people who do. A good sound basis based on reality is good. To know what reality is, and it helps you in your mental health, I think. Okay. Now, anyway, so there's a sharp increase on those seeking mental health support in college, with long waiting lists building up in many universities. For many involved in providing these services, they have seen how pandemic-related disruption and online learning led to a surge in isolation. There should have been no lockdowns. None. They had certain protections, right? The mask didn't bother people most. Where did it go? Where did the pandemic go? How come it disappeared overnight? Because it became politically unviable to keep it going, and because Trump tried to break it down and he was threatening them. If it was now with Trump in America, there'd be only minor precautions taken. A bad dose of the flu. Look at what we're paying for it now. So anyway, related disruption and online learning led to a surge in isolation, loneliness, disconnection, particularly among young first-year students. And I wonder, what about the smartphones? Are they isolating people? I don't know. So many experience that sense of disconnection, said one counsellor. Cameras off, not wanting to learn, low engagement, not feeling a sense of belonging. I personally never needed. I didn't care at school whether people liked me or not. I just ploughed on and head down. That has been my philosophy. That has got me great success in life. I never consult. I do consult people. When I was building my shed, I went round to several farmers and looked at theirs and took measurements. I'd never design a cattle crush on my own. I'd always go and measure some other successful farmers' cattle crush. You know what I mean? So it's not all that simple, but at the same time, never give it down what other people think. They're usually always wrong. Now, so that's it, factors. The scarcity of affordable accommodation means more students are commuting longer distances, which in turn leaves less time for involvement in campus and student studies societies. Well, the first thing we need to do is get climate change out. Let thou lads worry about climate change. Let the students go on. Let their parents bloody well carry the can. Why should students carry it? There's no weight put on migrants coming in. They're not expected to do anything for climate change. They're getting in the hotels and they have the heat on full blast at our expense because it's warm in their countries and they're overheating. So if the migrants can do without climate change, so can the students. So it leaves them less time for involvement in student societies. Well, I suppose there's no harm to be in a bit of student societies too, yeah. And then some of the bigger schools are too much into sport. I'm not against football or that, but if you're not kicking football and on the McRory Cup team, you're nobody. That's very bad for people's self-esteem. I was in a college one time, a boarding school, and it was all the football team, and they'd be banging the desk the whole morning and expecting me to do my homework. And I'm not against football or anything like that, but I just believe it should be kept in its right place. And a lot of these, the thing is, you need to get your education out of them. You need to get it. That's what I'd advise a student. Dump everything they tell you except the good, real information. Right. For academics, other factors affecting dropout. Now, just to let you know, I'm an academic, you know. I'm a farmer with cows who's an academic. I'm not the ordinary guy, you know. For academics, other factors affecting dropout rates include a perfect storm of more limited access to student supports and a return to more demanding in-person exams. Well, you have to have the exam. You can't have cheating. I mean, I cheated. I didn't need that. I did the metalwork exam in Carrickmacross years ago, and I brought another chap through, and he couldn't put a nail through in a board. He says, I'll be beside you, Val. I'll be your partner. And I ended up doing it for him. He got an honour. And the metalwork teacher, how did you do so well? And then I was doing another exam for the degree course, and I knew this girl's father, and she was a nice lassie. And I was down paring the pencil, and I'd be giving her tips, like, paring away like this. I know, it's not perfect. Look at it. That's the kind of me. Don't condemn me. Anyway, so a return to more demanding in-person exams. Well, sure, if it's not in your head and you can't write it down, so you don't know it. The latest data should prompt universities to redouble their efforts to support students. Many are doing imaginative work during students' critical year in college. Imaginative, yeah. I wonder what kind of imaginative work would that be now? Would it be painting a kind of a multicoloured flag? Oh, diversity, equity and inclusion. I don't know. Many are doing imaginative work for students, crucial first year in college, providing more opportunities for socialisation and adjusting the academic load in some courses. Well, I suppose that's good. Ultimately, student matters for young people. I often think, you're 14, you're 15, you're 16, you do the leaving cert, and you're a young person, and they start cramming this stuff into you. At a time in your life when you have no experience to digest it or anything else. I haven't the answer to that, and I'm not giving out about it, Anyway, it's not about academic learning or developing skills. It is one of the first obstacle courses of adult life. It's an obstacle course, all right. Students who complete it, research shows, typically do go on to earn more and live healthier and longer lives. Yeah. Well, you see, don't forget what education is. You're learning from the experience of others who are gone before you, and many are dead. I mean, I did a video there on hardening and tempering steel. That was learned years ago. There's nobody alive yet now that has postulated that. The writers of all the books are dead and gone. So here's another article in the Mirror, and Gardaí warn of scammers targeting students looking for college accommodation. Isn't there cruel people out there? Gardaí have warned of a threat from scammers targeting students trying to find accommodation in the run-up to college and university terms beginning. And the force revealed that cases of accommodation fraud have already jumped by 22% this year, with officers investigating 160 complaints. Many Gardaí are students who've dropped out. An awful lot of my colleagues in the Garda Síochána were student engineers, and I'd asked the fathers, why did he quit? Didn't he do an engineering? I didn't like it. No, he couldn't pass the exam. A lot of Gardaí are ex-students who could not get through the exam. So anyway, that's the story. It's a terrible situation. The statement said fraudsters often advertise a room to rent but claim to be out of the country and cannot show the rent of the property unless they pay a deposit. Is there any more to be said? Please warn everybody, if you're a student watching this, don't hand over any money. Don't hand over no matter what. See, that's what they do. Oh, if I can get the deposit. Oh, don't do that. If you can't eyeball the person lending it to you, don't do it. Don't hand over the money anyway till you know you have the room, till you're in the room, and until you find a mouse squeaking in the corner. Okay, it's a terrible thing to do that, but that's it. And maybe some of them are migrants that's doing this. We don't know. Certainly migrants do it. The other one here is declining performance and persistent staff shortages in education across Europe, ENR, whatever crowd that is, I don't know what, doesn't matter. Student return to classrooms after the summer as Europe's education system continues to struggle with falling performance and a shortage of qualified teachers. The OEDC student published in December shows the decline in student basic skills and the completeness and the competencies such as mathematics, reading and science. How does the EU promote quality education across the bloc? The EU is not capable of promoting anything quality. It's a defunct institution. So the quality is gone down. Maths is spurned upon. In America, they are trying to get a situation that if you're DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, that is, if you're a black homosexual lady, lesbian, with two girlfriends, and a member of the Democratic Party, you could become a teacher in college and you could skip your exams. In other words, they wanted the exams to be less precise. Now you can, and therefore you can imagine when they'd get to fly their planes, would you sit in with them in the Boeing 737? Imagine that one's flying it. I know people who wouldn't fly in some airlines because they fear that they're all dakes and LBGPQ and all dopes. I know people who wouldn't fly with them. I'd be very reluctant to put my life in the hands of these ones. And if you're killed, sure, what about you? You're now white Paddy anyway. You're no loss. Well, that's why think about that the next time you go on your holidays. As the summer holidays draw close, millions of European students prepare to return to their classrooms, yearly ritual marking a new cycle of our society's critical task to educate the generations. I don't think there's any problem getting an education in China. I don't think there's any problem getting an education in Iran. I don't think there's any problem in getting an education in Russia. I'd say that under the Russian government, education is a priority, and that's how they built up one of the most massive militaries there is. Now, America wasn't far behind too, but it's not improving unless Trump is doing something. The education sector faces a range of structural problems, such as staff shortages. You see, nobody can work for them. The Enoch Burke thing, no matter what you believe about Enoch, good, bad, or different, it sends out the signal to new teachers, we will jail you. Right? You imagine the protest. You imagine the way they shout, or at a party, we will jail you. We will jail you. Who'd want to work for a state like that? Who'd want to be a Garda, where you have to apologise for the criminal for beating up an old woman and robbing her and cutting her face with a knife? You have to say, I'm sorry, Maria, and him a big lump of a Dublin Gurrier. A Dublin Gurrier from one of the... Sorry about the phone there. Sorry about that. Now, anyway, that's the story. So, this is the thing. What can they do? There's a decline in performance because all they're teaching them is climate change. They're not teaching them any engineering. They can't do the SE assessment on or their big plans and programs because nobody's capable of doing it. The planning authorities are full of silly people that don't understand the basics of planning, and they break the law. The directives are clear. There has to be competence, and there's no competence, and they have to list it in it, and they don't do it. And the planning authorities and Board Planola will grant planning permission for a nuclear power station with no competencies by the people, no individual signing it off with his name and address. So we'll leave that for that, and we'll see what else I have here anyway. So that's it basically now. Now in England, a lot of the schools, the lower schools, have to have posters on the wall, I'm a jihadi. Now you can argue what the meaning of jihadi is, but I saw jihadis at work cutting the heads off a man called Bigley and several others, and this is what they have to teach them. So what teacher's going to go in to do that? And what teacher's going to go to university? Imagine if I were called back to teach some subject, and the first thing I got a dressing down on Monday morning, you have to be woke. You'd walk out. But I want to finish now on this video on 28 minutes. Only by this way of running Ireland, only by running Ireland and Britain in this way, will our people vote for us. Vote for them. If you're a student, you ask your parents who did you vote for. You'll find it's Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, Sinn Féin, People Before Puberty, and Labour. You'll find it. And now we have a new phenomenon, the 8 independent TDs. You vote for independence, and they're not independent at all. They're only a stooge, a stalking horse for the Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael that are rejected. So your parents haven't the brains to understand that the independents are not independent, that they're actually the old crowd back with a different coat on them. Do you get the point? Whether you will in due course see the light of day on this and reject everything to do with woke, get to understand what it is and set your head firmly against it, no matter who tells you otherwise, your parents or anybody else. If they're telling you to be woke, they're not good parents. They're not good parents. You go back to the old traditional views because nature is there, and science and education is simply the study of nature. Okay, the study of English, let's say that's a man-made language, but it still refer and has several words in it and nouns like field and hammer that relate to a real thing, right? You might say are and the and all that is not, but a lot of it is relates and languages relate to a house or a car or a horse or whatever else. So they are, this is the real world. And there's a massive move in Europe to get away from the real world and restore and install their imaginary garden and have the rest of the world a jungle. It's not working. And what they're trying to do when you can't get a decent education, when you can't get a fulfilling job, is offer you the army and put you into the army and jizz you up with lies and putting you killing Russians who are this morning getting ready to go to school the same as you, getting ready to study the same as you, and who by right should be coming over to Ireland and Europe and America and studying there, and we should be going over to them also to study. But this is what they have done. They have tried to build this whole falsehood around us, and it's up to me, a farmer with cows, to say otherwise. I wonder, is there any attitude or any, what you call it, demand for videos from me on education? I don't think there is. I think the response I got on the political spectrum and the two-slit experiments shows that even some of my, I hate saying this, there's a small proportion of my subscribers who are idiots. You couldn't teach them anything. All they know is old butts of cigarettes and old farting jackets on them and hanging around and talking baloney. There's some of them like that, and they're even here, because I understand them. I work with these people and employ them every day. I mean, there's no excuse for being an idiot in today's world. We see they choose what they want to believe. They thought they thought they were going to use windmills and solar panels for electricity, and now discovered they can't even pay the bill. Pubs are all closing, they can't pay the bill. You can't get a bite to eat, the electricity bill can't be paid. So this is the mad nature of our society, and I'll let you go with that, folks. Yeah, I've said enough. I mean, the government loves the migrant and the foreigner more than you. There's no evidence any of them are hard done by. They think that some of them are going to be working here. Some of them will never work, some of them have no qualification, nothing, and they're not going to go to school. So there you are. That's what your government wants, that's what your people want, and they're going to vote for it. Whether they'll ever change is a big question. Comment on the 8:32 minutes. Bye bye, good luck.